It really is almost painful how your life changes in an instant. And nothing in my life plan or anyone else's life plan includes a cancer diagnosis. So my treatment for anal cancer was chemotherapy and radiation for 5 weeks. I had chemotherapy at the very beginning, so in the first week of my treatment and the last week, and I had pelvic radiation for 5 weeks. When you're told that you no longer have what is so life-altering, it is so emotional that it almost takes me right back to that place in such a good way. I was given a list of side effects that could possibly happen with treatment, with the pelvic radiation. And sexual dysfunction was listed as a side effect, and I did ask about it and was told that that wouldn't be a concern for me because I was young and healthy and sexually active. Within 6 weeks, I was told that I could go back to my life, go back to having sexual activity with my husband, and that was the one thing that didn't work the way that we thought it would, and it was an epic fail. So much pain, so much urgent, severe pain associated with it that, of course, we stopped right away. You know, you get through the cancer and you've survived, and there's this elation and a real celebratory feeling that I survived it. And you realize you want the same things that you wanted before cancer. You want to have relationships. You want to be able to create the life that you were creating before cancer. When I learned that these sexual health side effects were possibly not so easy to repair, that they could be long-lasting, I felt greedy, as I think many patients do, asking for that part of my life to be repaired. So there is a hesitation, really, to complain too much. Well, you got your life back, Erin. And I did. And on one hand, it's all I wanted. But eventually, I wanted all those pieces of my life again, too. We went back and talked to my medical team about that, and they didn't know exactly what to do about it. Hadn't heard that that had been a problem before. And so I began to try every treatment I could. In fact, I tried treatments for years, different types of treatments, until actually just 2 years ago is really when, we kind of gave up on it being able to go back to life before cancer in terms of sexual health. What I needed to know from the very beginning was that this is common. I needed to know that there would be some treatment, that I needed to be helped sooner versus later. And I also needed to know that I wasn't the only one dealing with this, and that my husband and I weren't the only couple struggling with this issue, and that possibly communicating about this would be a good idea, and talking about sex with the person you sleep with might be a good start, and that possibly couples counseling would do a world of good in addressing some of the issues that we were facing. So I think what's happened is that we've ended up with a bit of a communication gap, where there are barriers on the side of the provider as to why it's not easy to address this topic. But there are also barriers on the patient side as to why they don't bring up the topic. I began life coaching other patients and finding out that even though I wasn't planning on coaching about sexual health, what I would find out from patients is that very often they had had sexual health issues that also hadn't been addressed. And I felt a need to be a voice and go back to my provider and providers around the state and let them know that they're getting it wrong. However, I was just one person, one voice, so instead I rallied some troops. I met the medical director of the Menopause and Sexual Health Clinic at the University of Iowa, Dr. Veronica Calder. I met with her, and she was also very passionate about helping the oncology community in understanding that their patients had sexual health needs that were the result of the cancer treatment. So we also then started working with Dr. Erickson, Bradley Erickson at the University of Iowa, and he's a reconstructive urologist. And the three of us collaborated on a presentation to speak to oncology nursing across the state, just raising awareness that sexual health issues are common in your patients. So I applied for grant funding, and we called it the All of Me Project. And this was to provide educational materials and programs for healthcare providers to help them, to assist them, to give them the tools to address sexual health in their patients. So I also speak to survivor groups, both prostate cancer groups, breast cancer groups, but survivor groups and at survivor conferences. I stayed pretty tied to patients and what they endure, what their issues are. We have created an implementation framework, which is really kind of a how-to guide or everything you need to think about to make sure that you're able to address sexual health in a clinic. I think sexual health side effects should be treated as any other quality of life side effect. Eventually, this truly will become a standard in cancer care. I wish they would have told both of us together that sexual health issues are common and that I may experience them, but here are some things that you can do to lessen the severity if the damage that pelvic radiation had done would be something that would change possibly the course of my relationship. If I had known any of that, I would have dealt with this differently than I did. We just didn't know what we were dealing with at the time.